parties use social media for their campaigns. Like I have said before, that they use buzzers and also political influencers. So the election in 2014 and 2019 were highly polarizing elections because we had a very sharp conflict between the supporters of the president candidate, the first president candidate, and also the supporters of the media for their campaigns. Like I have said before, that they use buzzers and also political influencers
to be more quick.
So the election in 2014 and 2019 were highly polarizing elections.
Is the society or
because
the
we had a very
people in Indonesia were very active participating in the election. We used many Yeah, now we have much better freedom of expression, but unfortunately, some people use the freedom to spread some negative content, such as hoaxes or fake news in social media. Also, okay, I think we have come to the conclusion.
Yeah, now
I think
we have
I can say that
much better freedom of expression
in Indonesia,
but unfortunately, some people use the freedom
biggest and most
spread
complicated However, in our opinion, that it needs more work from the government to actually implement it consistently. I think it needs more consistency about the law enforcement. Yeah, it's about the law enforcement, and also
However, in our opinion, it needs
better media
work from the government
among the citizens. I think
actually
if the
implement it
citizens have
consistently
good media literacy, they will be able to choose
I think
the
it
more
needs
credible
more consistency
information, and they don't
about the law
share
enforcement.
hoaxes and fake
It's about
news
the law enforcement
in
and
social
also
media. And I think one of,
in our opinion,
it needs
I think one important
contribution is that
among the
the new media, in our opinion, has played an important role during the election process because in new media has created a new public sphere for people, for citizens to express their opinion. They can use social media, for example, to speak freely about their opinions about the government or about how the government is the new media conducting their job. And the last during the election, the last because conclusion about the election, one important legacy of the general election in Indonesia is that during the 2 decades of the democracy after the reform era, in Indonesia there is no massive conflict between the people in Indonesia. Of course, there were many protests and demonstrations of Indonesia, but there is no massive conflict.
Presentation, and right now I call Putu Eka from University of Varmadeva to present speech or presentation what you prepared. Thank you very much for presentation, and right now I call Putu Eka from University of Varmadeva to present speech or presentation what you prepared. Thank you very much for presentation, and right now I call Putu Eka from University of Varmadeva to present speech or presentation what you prepared. Thank you very much for presentation, and right now I call. Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
I think you can hear my voice.
And right now I call. Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
Okay, you can hear my voice.
Yeah, we can hear you. Your slides.
Kalau misalnya itu malesnya memang sudah karakternya males, mungkin akan kita suggest untuk hal-hal yang biasanya kebermanfaatan dia itu misalnya itu malesnya memang sudah karakternya males, mungkin akan saya sebagai ketua timnya
I cannot
memanfaatkan dia menjadi film yang mulai bangkit dan
Okay, I will start my presentation, and then I use my case is the strategy of accelerating Indonesian economic recovery. Okay, I will start my presentation, and I use my case is the strategy of accelerating Indonesian economic recovery. Okay, I will start my presentation, and I use my case is the strategy of accelerating Indonesian economic recovery. Presentation training style. My case is I use the case. Okay, I use my strategy of accelerating Indonesian recovery in the unilateral through professional training system. For the first, this is a map strategy of accelerating Indonesian. We have more than 17,000 professional training system. More than one. This is a map. Different culture, different community, so have a many problem for the Indonesia. Different culture, different community, so have a many. In the 2020, we have two big issues from the Indonesia. Different culture from the coronavirus 19. community trade. In Indonesia, we have many. In the 2020, we have two big issues from the Indonesia economic difference from the coronavirus 19. In Indonesia, the Indonesian government in the 2020 with two big generate the strategy to recovery about the economic recovery. In Indonesia, regulation, the law number 2020 generate the strategy to recovery, the regulation about how to recovery economic region. And then in Indonesia, we have a strategy to recovery the economic issues with the 6 parts and we call the PAN or pemulihan ekonomi nasional region. National recovery, we have a strategy to recovery the economic issues with the 6 parts and we call the PAN. With this pemulihan ekonomi strategy, I will show the national cooperation of the police strategy to analyze the economic issues with the 6 parts. In Indonesia, we have with this strategy for strengthening the national government spending from the sectoral and local government. And the second one is we have the business incentive. The third one is support for health. And the fourth, providing cash assistance for the less fortunate for the social protection. And the 5, support for the effective companies or corporate financing. And the last, we generate the SME or medium-scale business empowerment. We create the interest subsidy. But in another country, you can see in the USA, they have a regulation too to recover the economy because you see the emergency spending for halting COVID-19, especially with vaccine development. For the second one, it's a various social security program, such as employment benefit, household and food assistance, and then various incentive for the business world. The 5, decrease in the benchmark interest rate at the level of 0 until 0.25%. And the last, in US, they create the unlimited quantitative easing or QE. But in Australia, you can see in Australia, the government in Australia create a 5 economic strategy, and next the salary wage subsidies, loan guarantees for business, decrease in reference interest rate, central bank fund injection for the loan and facilities to banks. And in India create the regulation to expenditures to increase medical device. So, and the second one is insurance for the medical personnel. The third, cash and food assistance for low-income people. And the fourth, support tickets for business affected by COVID-19. 5, lowering the repo rate to 4% and reserve repo to all. They have a 6 part. The first is the health budget for COVID prevention is included for the production of medical equipment. The second one is accelerated disbursement of unemployment insurance. And the third is the tax relief and incentives. The fourth, decrease in the benchmark interest rate. 5, delayed loan payment. And the last is a credit facilities for the SME or medium-scale business environment in the Myanmar. So back to Indonesia. How to Indonesia can recover the economy in the new normal period with the vocational training centers. Why vocational training centers? Because in the vocational training centers, we have a good impact from the people, the community in Indonesia. Or in Indonesia, we call BLK Komunitas. BLK Komunitas is a vocational training centers, the program from Ministry of Manpower in Indonesia. BLK Komunitas or vocational training centers have a part. The first part, or in Group A, we have a welding, automotive, engineering, agro industry, fishery industry, furniture construction engineering, and naval engineering. In another group, or group B, we have for art professional, language professional, make-up, refrigeration, traditional healing, robotic, international relation, electronics, visual communication design, hospitality, multimedia, and telecommunication infrastructure installation, or VSAT, fiber optic, and BTS. So, BLK Komunitas is a evolution of PEN, or Pemulihan Ekonomi Nasional, or Economic Recovery in Indonesia. And the target from the Vocational Training Center of Balai Latihan Kerja Komunitas from the Ministry of Manpower focus based on local community with the local potential in around the area, BLK area. And next, this program hopes to be achieved from the BLK Komunitas have optimization start from build the BLK. The community around the area get involved until BLK is running. With BLK, the community around the area can learn special skill, and with this skill, they can optimization our potential, making product and selling the product with BLK community. And the card, they can free access for all of class in BLK. So when the Ministry of Manpower in Indonesia create this program, it's not a new program, but it's a start program from the 2017 start until now in 2020. The Indonesian government focus to optimization about this program because this program can get involved from the local community to get more impact with the local community based on BLK area. So for my conclusion and this issues, the strategy of accelerating Indonesia's economic recovery in the new normal period. So the Vocational Training Center is Vocational Training Centers, or BLK Komunitas, is one of solution to recovery Indonesia's economic with optimization potential based on community. Because with the based on community potential, BLK Komunitas can running with optimization effect to be community. And then with based on community, hope the economic recovery can grow faster in the pandemic of COVID-19. Okay, that is all my presentation. Thank you so much for the all participants. And I will say thank you, Kuala, and terima kasih.
Dear Eka, thank you very much. And thank you very much for your time. Right now we have the question and answer part, but before that, I want once again to say thanks to the Jana, Nagura, Nanang, Danik, and Eka Putu. Thank you very much on your presentations, and thank you very much on time. Right now we have 20 minutes for question and answer part. We have so many great questions in the chat, but because we have 20 minutes, I ask each of the speakers to be very short to get the also time for other speakers to have possibility to answer. We will start with Jana. Jana, please. Jana, is possible to join us?
Yes,
yeah,
I
perfect.
Apologize. Yeah, I could not start the volume. Okay, so thank you very much for all of your questions. I will try to be very short. First question is from Marta. Yes, I agree that artificially islands are a contemporary reality. And the problem is that the analysis and the position of these islands within the international law has been limited to their status under the United Nations Conventions of the Law of the Sea. and and this mainly remains unanswered. However, as they are becoming more and more real in contemporary international relations, there is a huge efforts in determining their territorial status. And as these islands are now more and more technologically accessible, and also their scale is completely different, they need to be more precisely defined in terms of the international law. If we take a look at the International United Nations Conference of the Law of Sea, it has provisions which are binding regime for the law of the sea, including maritime zones and the statuses of the islands, but it also contains silence when it comes to the judicial status and the territorial status of the artificial island. So definitely I agree that international law and special law of the sea should change to address new forms of territoriality. The second question is the key challenge in legislating protection for climate refugees, coming from Antonia. Yeah, unlike the victims of political upheaval, who can actually obtain financial and medical aid, food, shelter through government and intergovernmental organizations, unfortunately, environmental and climate refugees are not yet recognized by most of the world conventions. And the biggest issue till now was that also even the United Nations has no official status for those people. There is no official acknowledgement that these affected peoples are actually refugees which are asking for asylum. And more or less, they are usually called environmental migrants, and their legal status is undermined by that. So international community actually there is an urgent need to define this new category of refugees. Then we have Nindi. How about the citizens who live in the small Pacific country? Is there any correlation with climate justice? Yes, my answer would be the most affected people from the small Pacific island states are challenged and are faced with climate changes on the daily basis. In my presentation, you had some photos which were demonstrated very explicitly which problems they are facing with. And in terms of climate justice, this is this shows that climate changes and their effects also present an ethical and also political issue, and it is not just a problem which is related to the environment or and it's not just physical in nature. So definitely we should look more at the destinies of those people. The international community should strive to fight more for these endangered people. Some moves have been taken in terms of legal action on climate changes issue. So under the United Nations Environment Program, there are so many climate legal actions being taken in the last several years, and we are more or less all familiar with the word of Greta Thunberg, who actually started this entire movement of speaking more about climate changes and climate justice.
Yes. Could we give the floor to others? And
yeah,
if we have time, you will return to your questions.
No problem, Robert.
Thank you very much, Jana. And Gura, please, you have 5 minutes for answering on questions appointed to you. Thank you.
To the state, yeah, I think yeah, they also have a rule, and also they have a perspective about how the Papuan local elites have a connection or engage with the another country or another perspective in not only in Indonesia, I think in the all of the country. So the problem is how the Papuan local elites, they also not only a part of the government of Indonesia, they also a part of the culture's roots and also the aspiration expression for independent. For example, this is, I think, the dilemma of the Papuan local elites. They also a part of the government in Indonesia, and they also a part as a part of the culture in Papua. The second question is from Bu Ari. Yes, I think the special autonomy is makes more problem. It's not became solve the complexity problem in West Papua. And as I said before, the special autonomy is I think is the regulation to counter the political movement and also the freedom for expression in West Papua. As and if we look before the history of the make a special autonomy is I think the counter when the people in West Papua need the freedom from Indonesia. I think this is the history, and I think it's important. And when we look about the special autonomy in West Papua, the roots of the special autonomy is the counter of the Papuan wants freedom from Indonesia. The third question is, I think, a challenging question from Ivana. How Indonesian countering for the internalization of pro-independent narratives? I think this is the big discuss now in Indonesia, and also the a lot of NGO and also the academic concerning about West Papua. A lot of people now, to countering the internationalization of pro-independent. And I think this provocative perspective makes not we looks and concern about the violation of human rights, for example. I think the narrative is also to countering the pro-independent, but in the situation in Indonesia, in West Papua, is always makes human rights violation. And also this is also the problem when we countering the pro-independent in Indonesia. It's not as similar if you countering the pro-independent, but the other side is always violence, always military use of violence to approach in West Papua people.
Nindura, thank you very much. We need to proceed. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Yeah.
Nanang and Danik, please, you have 5 minutes for your answering. Please be short. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
I think there are 4 questions. The first one is from Herford. How can I read it? About how COVID-19 will affect the upcoming elections. Yes, we are going to have local elections actually, but I think the debate or the discussion is still going on. The government and the election administrators haven't decided whether they will postpone the election or they will still continue the process. I think later Pak Nanang will explain it
more clearly because Pak Nanang have the experience become the head of election commission. And I think about the communication tools, a question from Sanja about how communication tools could be improved. I think we, in our opinion, political communication between the government and the citizens could be improved by the government providing more channels for the citizens to contribute to the government. For example, they can give suggestions, or they can also discuss problems that they are experiencing in the community, for example, and they can also discuss the law or the regulations that the government are working on, for example. I think, but now the government, I think, have some channels like social media that can be used that can be used by the citizens to communicate directly to the government, even to the president. In the past, we had no such channels, so I think it's a very good improvement from if we compare it to the condition in the past. But maybe in the future, the government can open more channels for the citizens to be able, so they can be able to contribute more to the how the government conduct this, how the government conduct their job. And yeah, there's a question from Sanja about who do you think who is the excellent political communicator in Indonesia? I think there are some good political communicators in Indonesia, but maybe we can give you one of the example. I think Mahfud MD, our Minister of Law and Security, is one of the good political communication, because he usually he can explain problems, or he can explain something complicated in a more simple way, so the community or the citizens can understand it more easily. And in my personal opinion, our president, Mr. Jokowi, also a good communicator. He usually use simple and direct messages to the citizen, so we can understand easily. And he also have a very good communication through his social media accounts. We have some social media accounts, and everyone. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe Pak Nanang can add more explanation.
Thank you, Danik. Mr. Nanang.
Please. Yeah, thank you. I want to explain issue about no massive bloody conflict. There was a research dissertation about an Indonesian student who settled for a long time in Australia by Professor Deddy Mulyana from Pajajaran University in Bandung, Indonesia, in Department of Communication. His study of how college students from different race and religion and maintain and produce for a long time identity. So this is the face of Indonesia, talk of different races, religions, and language. They realize that such of differences is a blessing for my country, and must always be kept as the unified people of Indonesia. It's a clue of research from Deddy Mulyana. And the pluralistic society in Indonesia to be a determinant variable for political stabilization in Indonesia. We know democracy, definition of democracy is the government of the governed. Therefore, public space is the center area in democracy. And the solution to promoting democracy is communication between public space and political system. The president and Congress person and so on must be open a public space when to produce regulation. Public and society have a freedom to explain or to present opinion. That is my explanation, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And right now we will proceed to the Putu Eka. Putu Eka, you have 2 questions. Please, could you be short? Thank you very much. Thank you, Putu.
Okay, thank you, Robert. For the first, I will say thank you for Mrs. Ari for the question. I will answer how about the SMA or small medium enterprise with the online package millennials. I want to say the benefit of the BLK, they based on local community, and then the target from the BLK is clear because the local community is a great the BLK with the community interest in this area of community, and they have 2 years mentoring from the Ministry of Manpower, and then they have a vocational certificate, and then the community when they have a class in this BLK, they have after class they have a vocational certificate skill, and then in the pandemic period, I think the BLK is one of solution because in the BLK they can create the local community, they get a product to selling to our product in this community because the power in the pandemic period is based on local community. How we can help with a local community because we cannot help to another people from the another country to coming in Indonesia based on maybe for the example in Bali we cannot have a tourism until today. Bali has a minus 10.4% until now about the economy. Bali is very bad to have economics. How to create to be revived in this situation. I think the BLK is one of solution. And then to Mrs. Agnesa, yeah, this is BLK. I think it's a very good solution to revive the economy from the Indonesia, because in the BLK they have a skill, they can create the community based on local. So after they come to the class in BLK, they can learn about to create the product. They can to be a better skill in this BLK. So with the 2 years mentoring from the ministry, so BLK, I believe, can revive, because seems like Ms. Anita, the BLK can answer about the how to recover the economic from the Indonesia, because in the BLK we have a target with the local community. With the BLK we can create the community with the skill, with the product, with the network, because we can we can help to another people to come in Indonesia until today. And then we have a 2 years mentoring from the Ministry of Manpower. And then how about the government and the private sector? With the 2 years mentoring from the BLK, I think we have enough time to create about the network, about the strategy from the BLK and the government from with the private sector, how to continue the partnership, how to win-win solution about the product, and how to we can recovery to all about the people, all about the community around the BLK area. I think it's like that. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much. With that, we will finish first panel. Thank to Jana, Ngurah, Nanang, Daning, and Putu Eka. You were great. Thank you very much on that. Also, thank you very much to all participants for asking the great questions. Maybe it is possible that some of the questions what are not answered to be answered in the chat, that everybody can see it. It will be great. Thank you very much with that. And right now we will start with the second panel. In second panel, we have 4 presentations. First one, it will be Borna Zguric from the University of Zagreb. Topic is comparison of democratic transformation of Croatia and Indonesia. The next one, it is 2 presenters, but just one will give us a presentation. It is Mada Astu and Gusti Anung from University of Varmadeva. Topic is tourism policy strategy in Bandung district towards new normal tourism. Third one, it is Hrvoje Jakopovic from University of Zagreb. Topic is users as creators of destination image. And fourth one, it is Rudi from UNILA. Topic is Omnibus Bill for job creation, evolution, and challenges. Gentlemen and ladies, you have 15 minutes for each presentation. Borna, please, you start. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Today I will give a short presentation on comparison of democratic transformation Croatia and Indonesia. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone, especially the organizers who allowed me to be here today with you. So let's start with my presentation. This is the content or lay of the land. First, I will give a short introduction, historical overview of the democratization of 2 countries, because most of the theorists in democratization believe that if you do not understand the country's previous democracy experience or the nature of the authoritarian regime, you cannot fully understand the democratization of the country. Of course, I will then show the cases of democratization, especially the main actors, how it came to democracy, and in which way 2 countries consolidated their democratic political systems. And of course, because we are talking about democracy and we are talking about security in a third-hand space, I have to say a couple of words about democratization and territory, or rather stateless. And then I will give a short conclusion beforehand. So historically, if you look at Croatia and Indonesia, both have experience with, let's call them, not so democratic regimes. Croatia was in the 20th century part of the Habsburg monarchy, which was a monarchy. Of course, it was not a democracy, although first parties and as well Croatian national thought was developed during that time. After the First World War, the first Yugoslavia, which was also a monarchy, with the Serbian monarch, was created, although there was some sort of representative bodies, that was actually not a real democracy. So we cannot say that Croatia at that point in time had any democratic experience. And during the, we call it NDH, which was a nationalist, let's call it for what it was, a fascist country during the World War. It was not independent, although it's called an independent country, because first it was mainly dependent on Italy. Then after Italy was defeated in the war, it was dependent on Germany before Germany was defeated in the war. So, and of course, because it was a fascist country, we also cannot talk about any experience with democracy. Then it came second Yugoslavia, or communist Yugoslavia. Well, communist Yugoslavia is also a federation of different South Slavic states. It was based mainly on the communist self-management ideology. And again, here Croatia didn't have, like other countries in this federation, didn't have any democratic experience. The main actor within the political system at first was, of course, Tito. You all, at least I hope you all know Tito, because he was linked to President Sukarno. Both countries, Yugoslavia at that point in time and Indonesia, created a non-alignment movement, actually. And there are pictures of that at the Brioni Island, for instance. It's a short fun fact. On the other hand, we have Indonesia. Indonesia was first known as Dutch East Indies during the Dutch colonial rule. Of course, there was, according to my knowledge, if I'm incorrect, please correct me, there was no democratic, at that point in time, democratic experience. Although then came Japanese occupation during the Second World War, and after the Japanese were defeated in the war after 1945, Indonesian Republic was created. It was created by the Sukarno and his nationalist party. Although prior to that, there were different nationalist strains in Indonesia who were trying to create an independent state. And Sukarno's version was the most dominant and the strongest, and eventually it won its, let's call it, mandate to create a new state. Unlike during the Dutch era, when the political system was, according to my knowledge, federal, the new system and the new state was unitary. And during the 50s, Indonesia experienced some sort of ethnic and political strives. Although Sukarno firstly built a liberal democratic political system, due to the violence and the problems within the state, he started to create a semi-authoritarian system he called guided democracy, and he pretty much relied a lot on the military. And after that, in the 60s, the military with Suharto took over and created what he called the New Order, which was in power until 1998, or Suharto left power. Of course, the Republic of Croatia and Indonesia both had their democratization process within the 90s. There's, we can call both countries, we can call them the countries of the third wave of democracy. As we know, the first wave was started in the 19th century, then the second wave after the World War II, and then during the 80s and the 90s, we had the third wave, which started in South Europe, then expanded to Latin America, and then to Eastern Europe. Some even say or hoped that Arab Springs was to produce the fourth wave of democracy, but actually the only country that actually democratized was Tunisia. It was ironically the country where Arab Spring actually generated. So both countries within the process of democratization experienced also violence. In Croatia, that was the so-called Homeland War, which actually lasted from 1991 to 1995. And in 98, we had the peaceful reintegration of the territories in the east of Croatia, but I will talk about that a little later. And what can we call? We had during the 90s some sort of defective democracy. Indonesia as well experienced violence, but I will come back to that part a little bit later. So during the time of democratization in the 90s for both countries, at least in Croatia, the main political actor who was actually guiding the democratization process was the president of the country. And of course, his dominant party, HDZ, or what is called Croatian Democratic Community. Unfortunately, the main element or constitutive element of Croatia's democratization was the war. And the president during that time was the main actor. So some authors suggest that that wasn't true, a real democracy in Croatia at that point in time. Some suggest that it was a part of another authoritarian regime. Some believe that it was a democracy, but it was flawed or in some sense, or defective democracy, as Wolfgang Merkel, a German political scientist, calls it. So some authors state that the 1990 elections were actually not the founding democratic elections, but so-called pre-founding elections. And that true elections or founding elections took place in the year 2000 after Croatian Democratic Community and President Tudjman died, and after political opposition actually won these elections. During the war, we also had elections, but mainly they were mainly won by the dominant party. After the 90s, the HDZ, which is actually still the leading party in Croatia, stopped being dominant, and we had some sort of pluralism. In political space took stage. And also after the year 2000, Croatia started doing some institutional engineering. We changed the election law from semi-plural to plural election law, and we changed, of course, number of houses in our parliament from 2 to 1. In Indonesia, the military and the opposition were actually the main actors during, according to my knowledge, from 1998 till 2004. President Suharto was forced out of the office, as other colleagues said, due to the large protest in Yogyakarta. Actually, there were more than 1 million people on the streets. The protest started as due to the Asian economic crisis. And although President Suharto wanted to stay in power and give its best, he was eventually people from his narrow circle left him, and then in the end the military, who was prior to that the backbone of his regime, forced him to resign. After him, President Habibie took place, and elections started, and Indonesia started to proceed with the democratic elections. So some authors believe that Indonesia became a consolidated democracy in 2004 after, and hope I'm pronouncing this right, President Susilo Yudhoyono won the elections. I hope I said his name correctly, but I'm not sure. Also, the elements that could show the consolidation of Indonesia's democracy were, of course, changes in the government, peaceful changes of government and peaceful changes of presidents. However, due to the violence in Indonesia, Indonesian governments were also forced to give more autonomy and fiscal decentralization to other parts of the country. So the main question is, in which way and in what type of the democracy did Croatia and Indonesia consolidate? So some authors believe Croatia consolidated at first in some sort of liberal democracy, then later in a classical democracy, classical liberal democracy. Unfortunately, we still have to, there's still a major challenge of corruption that we are facing even now. So some people are not sure we are fully consolidated democracy. Other authors believe, for instance, for Indonesia, that it consolidated into enclave democracy because the military inherited a lot of power and prerogative from Suharto regime. But others believe that it's more of a patrimonial democracy because also there's a lot of problem with corruption. So I will go to my next slide. The linkage between democratization and violence. So conflicts.
Borna, just to tell you, you have 2 or 3 minutes to finish. Thank you.
Okay, I will be done in 2 minutes, I hope. Democratization for Croatia. For democratization for Yugoslavia meant dissolution of the country. But Croatia, democratization meant state building. First, we had to regain our territory, which we regained in the war. And we had so-called Serb question because of the former Yugoslav army and Serbian insurrection, who were actually holding parts of our territory. During that time, we actually managed in war to regain these territories, and the eastern part of Croatia were actually reintegrated into Croatia with peaceful reintegration in 1998. Indonesia, on the other hand, with the democracy, had problems of dissolution of the country. Some even were actually afraid that Indonesia would break up like Yugoslavia or former Soviet Union. With the autonomy laws and the fiscal decentralization, Indonesia remained whole, although not completely, because East Timor gained its independence in the year 2002 and became an independent state. So I will conclude with this because I see we don't have much time. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Dear Borna, thank you very much. You have already questions. You will have a possibility to in question and answer part to continue with your thoughts. Right now, I call Ustu Mahayana. Ustu Mahayana, welcome, and you have 15 minutes for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the time given to me. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear my voice? Is my voice
yes,
clear?
we hear you. I start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So before going to the presentation, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Astu Mahayana from Universitas Formadewa. So I would like to present my presentation entitled Tourism Policy Strategy in Badung District Towards New Normal Tourism. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to tell you about our background. Okay, so this topic is closely related to the tourism matter. So the tourism has an important role in development. So in Indonesian, tourism industry has been able to contribute to country's foreign earning and regional income. So Badung Regency is one of the regency in Bali that has a local revenue the local revenue is generated from the tourism sector. So, however, nowadays the tourism sector business during this pandemic has been descended rapidly. So there has been a very significant decrease in the number of tourist arrival in Badung Regency. Therefore, the government make some policy strategy towards new normal tourism. Next slide, please. Okay, so so far there are 4 cities in Bali with the highest rates of COVID. So they are Denpasar, Buleleng, Bangli, and Badung. The global pandemic COVID-19 seems to get hard to control in Bali, especially in Indonesia. So based on the data shown in this presentation, so Denpasar has 136 cases, Beleng 101 cases, Bangli 98 cases, and Badung 72 cases. Next slide, please. So this is the policies made by the government related to COVID-19. So there are three, let's say, circular letters. The first one is circular number 183. So this letter was made during the pandemic, and then followed by the next circular number 259 of 2020. The beginning, this circular letter was made in the beginning of new normal era, and then the latest decree, that is Badung, the decree letter number 197/041, that is still applied until now. So once again, there are three circular letter so far. Next slide, please. Okay, so based on the circular letter number 183 in Badung Regency, there are some rules or some, let's say, all activities related to education or administration are held online. And then the entertainment activities and mass gathering activities are limited or postponed, such as concert, workshop, seminar, and so on. So, and if the activities are held offline, so they need to apply the health protocol of COVID-19, such as limiting the number of the participants according to the size of the area where the event takes place. Okay, this is the circular letter number 183. And then this is the second circular letters, as mentioned. It's about a guide for tourism stakeholder in Badung Regency New Normal Tourism. So the standard of new tourism policy is based on the Badung circular letter. And the 4C and 5 main indicators as shown in the slide is the point of the circular letter number 259. So this is to find out the implementation of 4C stakeholders and 5 main indicators. The government made the decree number 197 for the regulation control. And then after that, the government create a jargon called SIAP. You can see on the slide. This is the jargon of the implementation toward the new normal era. Siap means ready in English. Go to the next slide. Okay, according to the decree, the government have the 7 standards called 7 Ps or 7 protocols for readiness, as can be seen in the slide. So they are paperless, purity, physical fitness, protection, pliancy, productivity, and pampering. Okay, I think I have some mistranslated here. So the tourism sector business, which has fulfilled the requirements given. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as shown in the previous slides, so it can be concluded that first, besides the 7 Ps held by the government, this policy is also supported by the community or local wisdom, such as traditional police, or we have pecalang or traditional police in Bali. Second, based on local community, we have the health strategies to identify early identification toward the patient of COVID-19. The government of Badung Regency generates Satgas COVID or the officers who are responsible of the COVID-19 issues held by the local communities. And last one, the partnership that encourage local community resilience. In this case, the government cooperates with the regional state-owned company, or what we call it, the daerah ya, perusahaan daerah, or we call in English we call it the regional state-owned company. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Dear Astor, thank you very much, and thank you very much that you save us some time. Right now we are right back on the schedule. Right now we have the presentation from colleague Hrvoje Jakopovic. Hrvoje, please, you have your 15 minutes. Thank you, Hrvoje.
Good day to all participants. My topic is focused on users as destination image creators, ICT-enabled creating and sharing content, and term prosumer, coined by Toffler in 1980, is today more valid than ever before, because today tourists and consumers are in the same time producing products, images of destination, and are consuming them. So they are demanding today, they didn't been so demanding as in these days. They will not buy products that were tested on animals. They will not visit and eat in restaurants which are not socially responsible. So are the tourist destinations, they are competitive than ever before. They can use different social media platforms for promotional campaigns, and even the less popular destinations can today achieve visibility and reach a huge number of potential tourists and visitors. So why is this concept of image so important? Because we can assume, and the assumption is that the image affects decision making. So when we don't have any previous experience with certain destination, we can rely on information from other sources, from media, word of mouth, and in this context, especially very important, electronic word of mouth. So on the other side, marketers and PR experts are using tourism image research to conduct intelligent destination marketing. So they want to create an image of destination which corresponds to expected and desired image. My presentation is structured as you can see in this chapter's slides. Briefly, I will introduce you with destination image, shortly explain how destination image is perceived by different scholars. Then we will talk about cyber image as an extension and something that is a part of overall destination image, and how this cyber image can be analyzed, interpreted in terms of big data in tourism. And finally, I will conclude with examples from Croatia. That will be my conclusion. So we can all agree with this definition that destination image is a sum of certain beliefs, ideas, impressions that people have of a place or destination. But we can also talk about projected and received image. So images are actually transmitted, diffused through different communication channels to consumers. And then we filter this information, these image messages, based on our subjective states. So our personality, previous experiences, knowledge, needs, preferences, motivations. Then we form actually a perception, an image of a certain destination. So in literature, image construct is described and defined in different terms like destination attractiveness, destination awareness, destination evaluation, and destination perception. We should also differ brand and image because these two terms are often confused. Of course, that brand has its image, but brand is actually something that we get from the process of branding. Brands are perceived as something that has higher value, that can be sold with a higher price, and also has this unique values that can be recognized by consumers, but by tourists. An image is perception on all these destinations, whether they are branded or not. So cyber image is the measurement of a client's image everywhere online, as Stax noticed. So it means we can find sources for image creation in different user-generated content. For example, it can be from user ratings, user reviews, comments, online communities, and the power of this online or cyber image can be found, for example, in this report, the global economic contribution of TripAdvisor, research made by Oxford Economics, where they point out that TripAdvisor content influenced 13% of international trips and almost 8% of all domestic travel worldwide. Except that the findings show that the number of trips taken to a particular destination increases as content such as photos, reviews, listings, and information for that destination on TripAdvisor increases. So we can see that with more generated user content, we get a full image of certain destination, and it can enhance and rise the interest for certain destination. Also, the report from Edelman shows that today most consumers are avoiding traditional advertising. They use different techniques to do that. For example, they use a blocking technology. They change their media habits. They use different ways to avoid almost all ads and also pay for streaming services. So we can assume that they're annoyed with traditional advertising, and the keyword in this new trends is trust. So if they trust you, you will earn their attention. And as some results show, that 63% of users really trusts influencers. So they will trust what influencers say about the brand much more than what brands say about themselves. And finally, big data in tourism research shows us, we can see here that data is derived from different sources, from users as user-generated content, online textual photo data, and we can use different data mining techniques such as sentiment analysis, text summarization to find out what our users think about certain destinations. So we can make polarizations of negative and positive sentiment, for example. We can also use device data. It seems much more challenging to use data from GPS, mobile roaming, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth data, but by certain data from, for example, connecting Wi-Fi on close to certain attraction, we can see is there a kind of correlation with popularity of certain attraction or destination. And finally, we can use transaction data, web search data, online booking, website visiting data. For example, web search data seems very useful. We can use Google autocomplete to see which keywords associated with our destination are popular. So we can create a kind of popularity attributes and characteristics tree of our destination. And this all leads us to smart destination management. So smart destinations as extensions of smart cities. We can use information and communication technology to collect data and to optimize our destinations, to optimize our cities and make them sustainable, and to create a desired image that our users, our potential tourists want to see and experience. So for a conclusion, I would I will just mention this example of Croatian transformation in Corona virus circumstances. Croatian communication concept full of life was changed because of a situation to hashtag Croatia long distance love online campaign, which was very successful by what reports of Croatian National Tourist Board say. There was a lot of interest, a lot of followers and shares among users, and even foreign media share this content with their viewers and readers, for example, German, Austrian, and Hungarian. So we can see this wide landscapes that show distance between people, that you can feel secure. And finally, this campaign finished with this most recent campaign, Thank You for Visiting, which shows that this actually peak of the season was above expectations, with more than 50% arrivals in comparison to the last year. So this is a kind of a mix of this projected image and received image, and it can also emphasize the importance of electronic word of mouth among users and creation of image with the help of our online users. Thank you.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. You have a lot of questions. Please prepare yourselves for the answering. And right now we will proceed to the Rudy from the UNILA. Rudy, floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Rudy, you need to turn on your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Robert. And I'm my friend from Czech Republic.